Welcome to KR Films Entertainment Channel. Today I am going to explain a 2016 adventure action movie called Gods of Egypt. In the ancient land of Egypt, gods coexist, with mortals reigning over the realm. The striking features distinguish them easily from ordinary people: towering height, golden blood, and the ability to transform into terrifying creatures. Among them, Osiris, the ruler of the fertile Nile region, and his embittered brother Set, who governs the barren desert. Osiris, desiring a prosperous future, decides to pass the throne to his son, Horus, deeply devoted to the goddess Hathor. As a token of his love, Horus presents Happier with a bracelet of 42 stars, an invaluable Egyptian artifact that repels demons. On the day of Horus' coronation, the entire city gathers to celebrate, including both gods and mortals. Among them are Isaiah and her boyfriend Beck, a skilled thief willing to steal treasures to bring joy to his beloved and to escape with her someday. After the gods expressed their blessings and the mortals offer their tributes, Osiris addresses the crowd and prepares to crown Horus. However, their moment is disrupted by the unexpected arrival of Set, bearing a gift that conceals his sinister intentions. In an instant, Sid unleashes his army, seizing control of the venue. Armed with the staff bestowed upon him by their father, Set challenges Osiris to a duel, claiming it is his turn to rule. Osiris, unwilling to raise arms against his own kin, tragically falls victim to Set's blade, and the usurper declares himself the new king of Egypt. Set's first decree is to impose a harsh condition on the afterlife: only those who possess wealth can secure a passage. Horus, unwilling to accept this injustice, immediately engages Set in combat, seeking vengeance for his father. Equally skilled in battle, both warriors resort to their animalistic forms, clad in metallic armor, and continue their clash in the heavens. Such troops join the fray, utilizing their shields to reflect the sun's rays and blind Horus, granting Set an opportunity to claim victory and extract Horus' eyes. Yet Hathor intervenes, offering herself to Set as a sacrificial exchange for Horus' life. Consequently, Horus is banished from Egypt. 1 year passes and Set's oppressive reign has enslaved the majority of Egypt, leaving them impoverished and unable to secure an afterlife. Several gods have attempted to defeat him to save the kingdom, but they all died. While Hathor maintains the facade of a caring lover for survival, Zaya finds herself enslaved to Urdu, Set's principal architect, who is engaged in constructing Egypt's tallest obelisk. Beck, assigned to menial labor, seizes every opportunity to clandestinely visit Zaya in Urdu's office. One afternoon, Zaya reveals to Beck that Set's army will return with spoils of war, unlocking his vault in the evening. This presents an ideal chance for Beck to infiltrate and retrieve Horus' eyes. To aid him, Zaya pilfers the pyramid plans from Virtue, cleverly substituting them with empty parchments. As night descends, Beck leaps from a rooftop into the carriage transporting the precious gold. Swiftly concealed within the vault, armed with the plans, Beck manages to evade most traps, but inadvertently triggers an uncharted third bridge. Thankfully, Beck's agility allows him to skillfully evade each assault, leading him to the statue guarding one of Horus' eyes. Snatching the eye, he plummets into a pit teeming with scorpions, yet the eye's radiance repels them. At dawn, Beck returns to meet Zaya, unaware that Urdu has uncovered their rules, awaiting his arrival with a cadre of guards. Utilizing the eye's blinding power, Beck subdues them all, securing his escape with his beloved. However, as they flee in a carriage, Urdu, perched upon a balcony, fires an arrow, fatally striking Zaya. Shortly after, they arrive at the temple where Horus seeks refuge, and Beck is assaulted by Horus with his staff when he hesitates to return the eye. Pledging to return it if Horus resurrects Zaya, Beck strikes a pact. Regrettably, Horus' endeavors prove futile. Zaya is not injured but deceased, and immortality eludes Horus' Helen abilities. Summoning Anubis, the god of death, Horus relinquishes Zaya's soul to the underworld for judgment. Worried about her ability to pay the afterlife fee, Beck proposes a deal: he will guide Horus to the pyramid for the other eye if Horus devises a means to save Zaya. With hopes of reclaiming his throne, Horus agrees and they set off after concealing Zaya in the temple. Meanwhile, Sid dispatches his army to assail a goddess fortress upon learning of the missing eye. When Sid arrives at Horus' temple, his nephew has already departed, but he discovers Zaya's lifeless body and seizes her necklace, dispatching his men to locate Horus. Turning to Horus and Beck, they presently scale a mountain as Horus requires both eyes and assistance to vanquish Set. Upon reaching the summit, Horus beseeches his grandfather, the god of the sun, for a temporary blessing that restores his transformative abilities, allowing him to soar alongside back towards Ra's solar divine vessel. In this domain, Ra's duty involves daily battles against the shadow beast Apophis safeguarding Egypt from its threat. Ra, in an effort to maintain neutrality regarding his sons, Ra refuses to involve himself in Set's conflict, refraining from favoritism. Nevertheless, Ra permits Horus to fill a flask with the surrounding waters from the vessel. In Egypt, the remaining rebel gods have sought refuge behind protective walls, providing Set with an opportunity to visit his ex-wife Nephthys and seize her wings. On the solar vessel, Ra grants Horus temporary power to enable him to fly back with Bek. However, this power diminishes upon nearing the ground, resulting in an ungraceful landing. The next task is to employ the flask of water to vanquish the desert, significantly weakening Set. Prior to this, Horus sends back to collect some ordinary water. As Big nears the waterfall, he is unexpectedly attacked by Set's Minotaur army led by Nevis. However, Horus swiftly intervenes and easily overpowers the attackers. Nevis deceives them by pretending to be defeated. Nevis pushes Horus and back off the waterfall and flees. With the aid of Horus' staff, both of them managed to survive the fall. Nevis reports back to Set, who executes him for his failure and dispatches his formidable hunters after Horus. Set then implores Hathor to guide him to the underworld, recognizing her access due to her previous role as counselor to the deceased. Hathor pretends to consider Set's request and, when afforded a moment alone, employs her powers over the sand to observe Horus' well-being. When Set discovers her actions, he realizes Hathor's enduring love for Horus and her deceit. In an attempt to kill her, Set pursues Hathor, but she escapes by creating a portal with her bracelet. Meanwhile, at Osiris' tomb, Bek and Horus paused the journey back to the city to rest. Unexpectedly, Set's hunters emerge mounted on colossal snakes. Due to Horus' vulnerability to their venom and his weakened state, engaging in combat would be perilous. Bek swiftly devises a plan. He will divert their attention as bait, allowing Horus to conceal himself among the walls. Once the serpent draws near, Horus can launch a surprise attack. The plan succeeds and Horus manages to own the snake, although missing its vulnerable spot, causing the staff to become lodged in the creature's mouth. On their second attempt, Bek leads the serpent on a lengthier chase, enabling Horus to leap onto its back and eliminate the rider. Consequently, the snake careens uncontrollably off a cliff. Yet another snake remains to be dealt with. At that moment, Hathor appears and employs her commanding abilities to retrieve the staff and compel the snake to ignite itself. The trio manages to escape unharmed, but Horus's displeasure at seeing Hathor is evident. He mistakenly perceives her as a traitor, unaware that she had to feign loyalty to save her own life. Bek enlightens them about their plan to acquire the other eye, as he has seen the pyramid's blueprints. However, Hathor reveals an unknown obstacle they must overcome. A sphinx guards the pyramid, and it will eliminate anyone who cannot solve its riddle. Determined to seek assistance, Horus decides to consult the god of wisdom. Along their journey, he continues to argue incessantly with Hathor regarding her decisions. Feeling unappreciated, Hathor opts to engage in a conversation with Bek instead and is astonished to learn about Horus's promise. Though bringing Zaya vaccines impossible, Hathor refrains from commenting on it at prison. After a brief while, the trio arrives at Thoth's temple teeming with replicas of the god, since he solely trusts himself. Thoth declines to accompany them but advises them to bring the riddle to him. However, this would endanger one of them. Using a clever tactic, Bek manipulates Thoth's ego by suggesting that he would inform the Sphinx of Thoth's fear of providing an incorrect answer. Consequently, they proceed towards the pyramid, with Hathor seizing the opportunity to reprimand Horus for making unattainable promises to Bek. As evening descends, the group approaches the constantly shifting pyramid. Bek randomly selects a door and leaps inside, skillfully navigating a moving bridge to reach the mechanism that halts the pyramid's motion. Now united, the entire group advances towards the Sphinx. However, Thoth fails to provide the correct answer to the riddle, prompting the Sphinx to attack. Stepping aside, Bek and Hathor distance themselves while Horus confronts the Sphinx. Thoth persistently offers solutions until he triumphs, destroying the Sphinx. Now, with an unobstructed path, the group heads to the center of the pyramid to pour the water. Unbeknownst to them, a trap awaits. Bek takes hold of the flask, determined to proceed with the plan, but Set interrupts using Zaya's necklace to expose Horace's deception. Caught between trust and uncertainty, Beck hesitates briefly, giving Set the chance to snatch the flask and destroy it. Meanwhile, Sid, in a cruel act, places his hand on Thotha's head, draining his life force and leaving him lifeless on the ground. The group is left in shock and horror at the loss of their ally. Sid departs, hoping that the collapsing pyramid will eliminate them, yet Horace manages to unlock the cage and escape with his companions, utilizing the wheel as their shield. Outside the pyramid, Beck confronts Horace about his lies, ultimately concluding that the gods have no concern for their people. Hatha believes the old bet compensation for the deception and summons Anubis, offering herself in exchange for Beck's passage to the underworld. Anubis accepts the offer, and before being taken away, Hathor kisses Horace and leaves her bracelet behind for Beck's protection against the demons. With the aid of the bracelet, Beck safely arrives in the underworld and embarks on a quest to find Zaya amidst the queue in front of the gate, where the wealthy can pay for the afterlife while the destitute are dissolved. Meanwhile, Sid enhances his beast transformation by incorporating Thotha's brain while Cyrus's heart, Horace's eye, and Nephti's wings into his magical armor, bolstering its power. Subsequently, he soars toward the solar vessel to exact vengeance on his father for banishing him to the desert. Rock clarifies that Set was assigned the desert as a test of patience, because Ra desires his son to eventually inherit the vessel. This revelation enrages Set, as he despises being confined there, condemned to an eternity battling a space worm. Set proceeds to assault his father. Ra retaliates with his solar beam, an attack no god should survive. Nevertheless, Set, now possessing the power of multiple gods, manages to overcome Ra before allowing Apophis to roam freely. In the underworld, Beck locates Zaya and intends to give her the bracelet so she can pay for her afterlife fee. However, they are interrupted by Apophis's assault, prompting Anubis to temporarily close the gates. Zaya convinces Beck to grant Horace the second chance, and utilizing the bracelet, Beck returns to Egypt to join forces with Horace once more. A carriage sent by Nephthys transports the pair back to the city, where Set emerges brandishing Ra's spear. Standing atop the obelisk, he commands Apophis to attack the Nile, the source of all life. Horace and Beck abduct Ursu the architect, to gain entry into the obelisk. As Horace ascends by climbing, Ursu accompanies him in the elevator, leading to a confrontation. The struggle results in an act over torch, setting the elevator ablaze. Consequently, Beck ties his rope to the wall and leaks off before the elevator succumbs to the fire, plummeting downward along with her shoe. At the obelisk summit, Horace confronts Sid, initiating another fierce battle. Sid believes he is winning, but unbeknownst to him, Horace is merely a diversion while Beck executes a surprise attack. In his armor, Sid retaliates against Beck, who removes the eye from the helmet before being pushed away. They curls the eye of Horace, who chooses to do the right thing and save Beck rather than claim the eye. Horace apologizes to Beck for everything, and without the eye, he ultimately reverts to his beast form because he believes that one's worth is determined by acts of goodness rather than greed. After safely sitting back on the ground, Horace resumes his battle with Set inside the obelisk. By striking the walls, Horace manages to bring the structure crumbling down, striking Set in the process. As Set hits the ground, Horace uses Ra's spear to deliver the final blow, ending Set's life. Following the confrontation, Horace flies back to the solar vessel and returns Ra's spear, which instantly revitalizes the god with its power. Ra wastes no time and engages in combat with Apophis, eventually forcing the malevolent entity back to its original realm. This allows Anubis to reopen the gates of the underworld. Horace returns to Egypt, where a child presents him with his other eye, having found it on the ground. Horace then checks on Beck, only to discover that Set's push has mortally wounded him, and the young boy breathes his last in front of Horace. Overwhelmed by grief, Horace carries Beck's lifeless body to his temple, where he can rest beside Zaya. In that moment, Ra appears and resurrects the young couple as a token of gratitude to Horace for his assistance. A few days later, Egypt is once again teeming with life. The people have been liberated and Horace is officially crowned as king by Thoth. This first act as ruler is to rectify the rules of the afterlife, ensuring that one's passage is determined by acts of virtue rather than material wealth. Beck is appointed as the chief advisor to the king, and he returns the bracelet to Horace so that he may journey to the underworld. Thanks for watching.